Hey everyone, welcome to Underground Scholars Winter 21 podcast series, a podcast about elevating our formerly incarcerated and system impacted scholars' stories. You'll get the chance to listen to our members and advocates supporting USI 3 pillars through recruitment, retention, and advocacy. My name is Marisa Lopez, but you can call me Ritz. I'll be your host for Winter 21 USI podcast series. In today's episodes, we have Armando Tellez, who is the Assistant Director of UCLA Prison Education Department. Armando Tellez earned his master's degree in College of University Student Personal Administration program at University of Texas at Austin. Armando earned his associate's degree from East Los Angeles Community College and a bachelor's of arts in sociology from University of California, Los Angeles. As a McNair Scholar, his undergrad thesis examined how one model continuation high school re-engaged Latino males towards graduating from high school. While Armando's research interests are involving, he's interested in how post-secondary educational policies and practices impact access for incarcerated juveniles, particularly young men of color. So let's give it a round of applause for Armando Tellez.
Hey, thanks, Fritz, for having me on today. Happy to be a part of this beautiful thing right here, what you got going on. Yeah, so my name's Armando Tellez. Right now, I'm the associate director of the Prison Ed program, alumni of the UCLA Underground Scholars, uh, transfer student from East Los Angeles College, representing. Graduated from UCLA in 2017. Went to UT Austin to get my master's in higher education leadership and policy. Sir, well, I transferred from ELAC to UCLA, and that's when I first got involved with the prison ed program. I was also a McNair scholar, but also one of the co-founders of the Underground Scholars at UCLA. I heard about Underground Scholars the year I transferred into UCLA was that process. Um, and I just heard about it. You know what I mean? I wanted to go to Berkeley. I had found out about that program. I thought it was like, okay, like this is something that I could probably be involved in, but I didn't get accepted to Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to UCLA. Um, and I started to notice, right, like folks in the circle that I was involved in, like going to the community programs office, my classes, these transfer events, Mecha events. Um, my counselors were from Mecha Cameca under CPO.
Alrighty, folks, just taking a quick pause right here for folks who are, potentially going into UCLA, interested in going to UCLA, and you've been probably hearing CPO a lot, and like, what's CPO? CPO stands for Community Programs Office. It's cross-cultural center. It's built by nurture inclusive, diverse community of scholars or leaders who are committed to giving back historical marginalized communities by engaging, educating, and empowering students to develop executive student initiatives, student run outreach, service and retention programs. It's at the Student Activity Center building on campus at UCLA, and it's great. Their four pillars are basically like outreach, service, retention, and leadership. Um, Mechacalmec is another resource that Armando was mentioning. Mechacalmec was established in 1988 as a student initiative, student run, and student funded retention program in response to the problem of the high attrition rates of unaddressed Raza students and UCLA students feeling of UCLA not properly addressing the issue. They offer a lot of services like peer counseling, mentorship, um, and gender sexuality workshops. So it's really great the services that Armando was able to tap into back as a UCLA student.
There were a lot of homies, you know what I mean? There were a lot of people who were formerly incarcerated, system impacted, mujeres, you know what I mean? We started to notice that we all gravitated toward each other. Of course, we were transfer students, we were older students.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't young, you know what I mean? We didn't live on campus. So we kind of just gravitated to each other. We realized we had this experience. Um, and it was just a bunch of us. I remember me, Javier, Luz, Aurora, Umra. Andy, the homie OG, like we were really the core and
Mhm.
like relation. It started, I think, with me and Luz. We reached out to Froggy because that was our mutual contact,
Oh,
and
okay.
Froggy was the one who met with us. We were met up in Chinatown, and we talked about like what would it look like, you know what I mean, to expand from Berkeley to UCLA because there's a group of us who have this experience, and it was never about like reinventing the wheel
Nice.
and being separate because this was something huge. And how dope would it be, the two public universities with this organization? We just seen the potential, and at first it was a little struggle to get everyone on the same page, but like really the persistence from like Javier, you know what I mean, and are already the team that was already there with Luz, me, Ora, Andy, you know what I mean, Jose, OG, like it really played a big role in sparking it up.
Yeah, and I guess like my question is trying to understand like what made you just want to stay? You get me? I know like you're saying there's a big impact of community. There was like it's a start. You're just trying to do this initiative, but like overall, like underground scholars is focused on folks who are formerly incarcerated, system impacted. Um, I just want to understand like folks who are coming in the role, like more so like what's up, like you could have gone to like any other student org. You get me? There's like 1,000 plus student orgs here at UCLA. Um, I don't know if it's just kind of repetitive, me trying to figure this out, but like just why USI?
It was definitely just that rich experience that we bring to the table and certain, I guess, understanding of like you just feel that, you know what I mean? Like I met the homie Daniel, right? The engineering homie. Um at an action on campus. And this is kind of like it's bad, right? What I'm about to say is I kind of stereotyped them, and I kind of felt he stereotyped me, but it was in a positive way to like find commonality
Hmm.
because it was a protest on campus, and I was there, he was there, and we looked at each other and we nodded. You know what I mean? Like you all like, what's up? And after it was done, I went up to him, and it was just felt welcoming, like like, oh shit, like he's a homie, like I know he is, like, and I know he knows like I'm a fool, or like we come from that background. So
Yeah,
it's immediately just that commonality of understanding and feeling at home is what it is. And all these organizations like Mecha's another home, you know what I mean, but it was just something about just being around other people who understand, you know what I mean, your experience, your lingo, um where you coming from, right? Um, it's just that really homey feeling that I got. I even got that when I went to visit Berkeley Underground Scholars. Like I was part of their they flew me out there for it was their ambassador training,
oh nice.
right? This was after the conversation we had with Froggy. A couple months later we kept in touch because at first, this is kind of going back to how like I heard about underground scholars, we were like, well, like could we pass down the name? Could we expand? And at first they were a little hesitant. But they seen the work we were putting in. We were like doing events. You know what I mean? They seen that we were serious. We had the power to do it. You know what I mean? The human power to do all that. So they flew me out there for the ambassador training and was like home. You know what I mean? Like seeing, just knowing folks have been through your experience and homies with tattoos, the mujeres with tattoos, that lifestyle, like it just felt at home. You know what I mean? Like this is something I could relate to. These folks remind me of my cousins, my relatives.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what it was at Berkeley, and even at UCLA, our cohort was like that. You know what I mean? To this day, I'm very, very close to Javier. We always kick it. Daniel, we always message each other. Andy, like you know what I mean? Like 'cause these are like long lasting relationships that we're building and sustaining, and it's because we came together with this common background and commonality of just feeling together.
Yeah, and I think that's the point I was hoping for you to hit, you get me? Because that's what it so folks who are listening right now to this podcast, like you'll definitely hear this repeating pattern. I don't tell people like, oh, what the last guest speaker said, what this guest speaker said, but pay attention that everyone just mentions the word home, community, commonality. Like it seems that it's a repeating pattern and theme throughout these podcasts. Like the folks who I've gotten a chance to interview, because like without even like explicitly or like breaking it down, they're just like, I just felt comfortable here. And I felt that
Mm,
too. It's just like, you walk into a space, no explanation. Folks already understand. Like you don't have to be questioned or challenged by our members in the group, because you say one thing, it's kind of like, oh, I get it. Like I've either been through that, or it's just like I've seen someone experience it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a trip that other folks have said that because that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like I remember taking class. It was me, Andy, Javier, and OG, and like we'll take food and feed each other. Um, I was on my EBT, so like
I was like, feed each other like how?
I
Like
want to go
boca
to,
boca?
you know what I mean? We want to go to Trader Joe's, use my EBT, and we would eat. We had these lectures, you know what I mean? We looked out for each other, um, and we needed a space for us. We wanted to be autonomous. We didn't want to be, you know, like have anyone control over us. Like the same values that USI had, we had. So like, why invent the wheel? Um, let's pick up and like look where it's at. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for it expanding to UCLA, I don't think it would have expanded all across the other 8 UCs. You know what I mean? Or all 9 UCs. Um, so
Yeah.
it's cool, and I really like dig that. And I think I had interviews for this one job, and I guess other underground scholars, UCLA alumni applied to it too, and they're like, "Who's the real founder of underground scholars?" Because everyone says we're founder, right? And I think we all are. Like we all have that right to say, you know what I mean? Because
Co-founders.
it was everyone in that cohort who really put in a lot of effort. Um, and a lot of people just stood in the background, you know what I mean? Just organizing, creating space. And I think I was one of that. I never wanted the recognition or anything like that. Just take up space, you know what I mean? Because it's UCLA, predominantly white institution. Like you could spot us, you know what I mean? We were sore thumb on campus, you know. The homie OG would dress, man, rest in peace, the homie, he was just himself, come to the school, banged out, you know what I mean? With fuck the world hat, it was a shirt, Tupac, and he stood out like a sore thumb. Um,
Just wanted to give this moment a pause, silence commemorating Jose O.G. Ortega. Thank you. There's an article written by Humberto Flores, who's another Underground Scholars Initiative member. He wrote an article on USI under La Gente magazine, and I quote from his article: "Last year in 2016, 12 USI members graduated here at UCLA, and one member, Jose Ortega, passed away a unit short from graduating due to a heart attack. Though the words he said live on, in the hood you either go to jail or you die, I chose school. The same mentality, diligence, and techniques used in the streets can be used in higher education to make one successful." Ortega was also honored in an evening of the fight film. USI's mission is to spread across the UC system and ultimately branch off to higher education institutions and efforts to further assist formerly incarcerated individuals, unquote, by Humberto Flores. So thank you all for just taking a moment here to honor Jose Oji Ortega.
but it was just like we took up space on campus, you know what I mean? We let them know we're here, we need services, we're gonna be here. There's more of us coming, you know what I mean? It's kind of what like we wanted to accomplish, and so far it's almost, if not already there.
How did that make you feel though, to be like, this is my school, this is where I come from, I would take up space?
I mean, at first, like we get a little dose of that at community college, right? Like I guess with being involved, I was involved in student government and student clubs, so I was learning to like, all right, I got a voice, I'm empowered, right? I got leverage as a student, my voice matters. It's a matter of just putting the legwork and the bureaucracy of it too, you know. But yeah, so when we got to UCLA, we know it was kind of the same ropes, and again with the persistence of the teamwork with Javier, you know what I mean. Um, for going through the UCLA bureaucracy, like I know it's really benefited us, you know, being in our positions now because he, like, for instance, Javier who started a business and he had to go through the same process essentially of starting a club on campus, right? So we learned these skills that we didn't know at the time. That's just like, oh, I did this shit already. You know what I mean? Like same process, same bureaucracy that you have to do.
Damn,
Um,
we are building entrepreneurs out here.
yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
Like I know you're not a current student, like you're employed, you're graduated, you're a grad student, got your masters and all that. Um, so let's say someone's already like, I mean, because you're basically working virtually. Like, how is that? Like, I feel like you can still share some experience on like working field, like virtually,
Hmm.
being able to meet with people, and you did tap into like not being able to pick up on expressions, body language. But do you think there's anything else people should know, like that makes it a little difficult, or like some ups and downs, or just like highlights in general? Like you think that the virtual has benefit you in some way?
Is I think I've been trying to develop more discipline since I've been on virtual, working virtually, like getting up and basic shit, like doing my bed, you know what I mean, getting dressed, putting my shoes on, right? Because I feel once my shoes on, I'm ready to go. Like I'm ready. Like if I'm kicking in my chanclas, like I'm gonna feel productive, you know. Um, and I mean, I try to be optimistic about everything. Every so often I get up, I take a walk, I have my dip bar. So like every 50 of the hour, I try to go do some dips and do some leg pull-ups, you know what I mean? Um, because it's really it's impact, you know what I mean? Like we're immobile on campus where we go to one building the other, we go to a talk, there's food, there's events, um, there's just being around people. Um and we're social beings, right? I don't think we're socially wired to be just on computers like this. You know, we're adapting, but we're not. We're made for interaction. We need that touch. Um. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm derailing from your question.
No,
Because I
we're going a
definitely,
little, we're going a little on because I'm just like, all right,
yeah,
let me go back to USI now.
yeah. Because I definitely struggle with like Zoom. I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, my eyes be hurting from sitting down all day, you know. And I have to get up, I have to stand, and sometimes I'm in meetings, and I feel because of Zoom, we're expected to do more because usually we would have meetings and like, okay, I can't make that meeting. I would have to go, I would have to travel, traffic, you know what I mean? Or you're just not back to back to back to meetings, and sometimes the Zoom University is like that. So I think we're expected to take on more because people expect, well, you're home. You know what I mean? Like you could, like, why can't you go to this meeting? You know, so I think we're expected to do a lot more. Um, and the students, like, man, I can't imagine because I'm not that type of learner. I know I wouldn't do good. Like, I never took in an online class in community college, UCLA. My graduate program, I took no online classes because I'm not that type of learner.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, I can imagine older, non-traditional, formerly incarcerated students are probably not either. You know what I mean? They're more hands-on, engaging, and that they're that type of learner.
Yeah, it's all good. No need to like dive deep into this question too, but I do appreciate you kind of elaborating more.
Yeah, yeah.
Just acknowledging in general, like, a student's like pressure they're on right now, and just giving them that space. So like, all right, let's go back into like USI stuff. Were there any projects you led with USI? Anything you remember? A little piece you left behind? that you kind of just like, that was on me. Like, you're kind of like, Armando, you left that piece at USI. Like, that's what's up.
It was definitely the first conference we held at UCLA for transfer students. It was big, and it was me, Javier, and Romao really led that effort right there. We took on everything, and I learned from that. You know, I made mistakes in that planning. Um, it was a big event. It was over 70 community college students from like Bakersfield, from like San Diego. I don't think there was really no one from NorCal. I think that was a far stretch to make it down. But we had folks from Bakersfield Community College, or well, I forgot what college, but they're from Bakersfield, from San Diego. People came over 70. We had planned for like 30, 35, but the word spread out so quick we had to stop registration.
Wow.
Um and it was a full day event. Like
A full.
folks came in the morning, we had breakfast, we gave a tour. For lunch, folks went into the dining hall at UCLA. Then after that, we still had more programming. We had that panel. Um, it was so dope. You know what I mean? One of the mistakes I made was feeling that I knew it all and knew what to do. That being this macho man, right? Like, I don't need help. I don't need nobody's help. Instead of going to our sole advisor, which is Jake, the homie, we just planned everything. We set up the calendar, the Google registration, directions. We got the meal vouchers. You know what I mean? Even when it got to 70, we scrambled on campus to be like, oh shit. You know, we hit up CCCP, CPO, like, hey, we need food vouchers. Could last minute, with this event and expanded, and could we get help? And they helped us, right? But there was a student who, I might be using the wrong right description, that they were deaf, from Santa Monica Community College, and they needed a translator.
Oh,
And this
they
was
had a disability.
last minute. And Jake was like, man, I didn't know this event was going on. We should have been in communication the whole time this event was being planned. We could have prevented this. So I learned the lesson there. Like, you know what I mean? That's what really stood out. It's like, you need to be advised by someone when planning. You know what I mean? As much as we think we know what we're doing now, we could still execute it. We still need to go to the proper channels of, getting this event. So it could be through anything, getting permits, or just the okay, and making sure all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. So that was really one big event that I really had a role in. And I feel like it's been going on, but because of COVID, you know what I mean? But
Yeah. Is this the transfer empowerment workshop?
yeah,
Wow.
we didn't call it that. It was just, but it morphed into that. You know what I mean? But that's essentially what it was. Like that, our programming had UC, application workshops, financial aid. We had a panel, so that's where the idea came from. And every year, you know what I mean? That was kind of the advice that was given to us, just to put on some type of programming once a quarter, right? Berkeley was on a semester system, so they would do two a semester. Also, quarter was like, all right, to try to do one on campus, right, where to get people to spread the word about USI, bring folks in, allies and stuff like that. So that was always in the spirit of just having these events. And now it's a transfer empowerment workshop. You know what I mean? And I was there. Yeah, it was dope, and seeing all these different folk trying to get into UCLA, and we created that.
Dang, now I finally know where it all started. Because that's
Yeah.
the transfer empowerment workshop is one of my highlights. Like, that's the one I put my energy into, helping folks in like the app process, lead.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but very worth it. Like, uh, it was worth it. Took a lot of energy, and when it was done, it was just like so relieving at the end. And just seeing that many people on campus, like the homie Flaco, he's in Santa Barbara right now. The homie
Yes,
Angel, like, man, just all our homies were there, like on campus. Like, it's dope. It was really, really dope that day.
so amazing. Yeah, I got the chance to meet Flacco through the statewide cause.
Hmm.
Amazing, like all the work that folks has been doing, like how long people stay connected. Um, we're kind of running out of time, but it's okay.
All right,
Like
right. And
stories.
we could continue. You know what I mean? Like, there's still a lot. You know, we could talk about a lot about what happened at UCLA, and it's all good memories, good folks. You know,
Yeah. Is
yeah,
there
I'm
any?
happy. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just happy like it's sustained. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm just happy for where it's at right now and the potential. You know what I mean? All these policies that are being implemented, folks coming home. Um, you know what I mean? They realize education is where it's at. It's that stepping stone to open up them doors, and we want to welcome them. It sucks that we have to compete with Berkeley. You know what I mean? And all the other UCs.
It's all love,
Um,
man.
it's all love, but you know they like that's the West Coast Ivy League. Even though we're the number one, UCLA is the number one public, but people, it's just an attraction. You know, like I wanted to go to Berkeley. Um, but it worked out at UCLA. You know what I mean? I wouldn't exchange it like at all. Like it's all worked out.
Yep.
You know?
What is? Hmm. I guess what's some hopes for you in the future? Where do you see yourself, like in general? Like, where do you see yourself working in the future? Even still, if it's still working with Pep, or just like, or what are you hoping for in general? What's your like life goals? I guess you can say.
To be honest, like I want to retire young. You know what I mean? So uh, I'm gonna do what I love and make it work for me. You know, for the future. But if my dream job, right, was to be working with youth, with the education system, respected educators enough, I want to be like a high school, middle school. I'll be a mentor. You know what I mean? That's where my passion is at, is to work with the youth. Uh, you know, provide. I'm really advocate for education. You know, so if I could instill that seed into the youth's mind of going to school, right, of going to college, the experience, what it could do, like setting foundations and uh, for life. That would be my dream job. And I'm gonna do it one day. Um, but it's gonna be when I'm financially uh, feel like I'm financially free to do all that. But now until then, like I see myself doing work with the community, prison ed. I really enjoy prison ed work. Um, it's just using that like education as a tool for liberation, right, and transformation. Like providing that inside the facilities, like that's something I'm down for. That's I'm passionate about. Being director. Hopefully, I could be director of a USI one day, or Project Rebound. That would be ideal.
That
You
would be
know what I
so
mean? Or
awesome.
starting my own prison ed program. Shit, if there was a state, say Kentucky, was like thinking about a prison ed program, or like I would be, if the pay was good, like I would do it. Like I would definitely go to another state and like run a
Oh
prison ed
man,
program.
that I
Um,
like how out of nowhere like Kentucky food.
'Cause I got a homegirl, like she's the professor over there. Like
Oh, it's so awesome.
we did the prison ed in Texas,
Oh, okay, there's a
but
connection. I was like, this is so random. but
but like but I would be down, like I enjoy this work, especially like the way I guess our motto is in UCLA, like everything's informed and responsive to the folks inside, right? Like so that shit is dope. You know what I mean? Like no, like other programs I think are like that. But ours is like, man, just the way we run it, like the way the ideas that's put in the thoughts, it's just like everything has a purpose to the applications, acceptance letters. You know what I mean? Like I've really learned a lot, being in this position, working with them.
well,
During the last months, our communities have been vigorously discussing and taking steps to make sure that our schools are eliminating barriers and providing the support and opportunities that will ensure the empowerment and success of students of color and other marginalized groups. We are here sharing this statement to acknowledge our brothers and sisters who are currently incarcerated. We also want to acknowledge our formerly incarcerated brothers and sisters who have not yet shared their stories. We're hoping to elevate our Black, Indigenous, people of color, formerly incarcerated students hustle. So, interested in collaborating, having general questions, please feel free to reach out our program's email at underground scholars at saonet.ucla.edu. That's all for now, folks. But I'll see you in the next episode of Underground Scholars.